Edgar Degas was a French artist who lived from 1834 through 1917. Degas is famous for not only his paintings but also his sculptures, prints, and drawings. Edgar Degas is often credited with being the inventor or establisher of Impressionism, though he himself preferred the term realism. Degas began painting in the 1850s and continued through nearly the 20th century. His works range from depictions of Spartans training to a woman in the bath or portraits of a single person, although Degas is most famous for his numerous depictions of dancers and was a master of depicting movement. Edgar Degas painted the Place de la Concorde in 1875. The painting depicts a major public square in Paris, and there are three prominent figures in the painting. The three figures include Ludovic Napoleon Lepic and his two daughters. Lepic was himself an artist and patron of the arts. Many believe the painting to be a political statement, as Degas himself was a very political man. Many believe it is not a coincidence that Lepic and his daughters were placed on the far right of the painting, as Lepic himself was a Republican, while the other less dominant figure is placed to the very left in the background. The painting was seemingly unimportant prior to its disappearance. Degas never acknowledged the work's existence in any of his notes or letters about his artwork. It was even later revealed that Degas did not lacquer the painting, a process which would prolong the life of the work. The work only changed hands twice prior to 1945 and was seemingly never the subject of any extensive research or articles in its early life. Though there is no evidence of the Nazis ever possessing the painting would likely be classified as degenerate art because it was thought to symbolize democracy, which the Nazi Party strongly opposed. The painting was originally sold when Degas was in need of quick money to the dominant figure in the painting, Ludovic Napoleon Lepic. The painting began its life seemingly unimportant. None of the preparation materials aside from one small photograph used for the background were saved, and the painting was never alluded to in any of Degas's writings. The painting remained unknown until the turn of the century. The owner of the painting following Lepic was renowned art gallery owner Paul Durand-Ruel. Durand-Ruel, however, was prevented from selling the painting due to the lack of signature from Degas, until German art collector Otto Gerstenberg became interested in the painting. At the time of World War II, the painting was somewhere in Germany, and following the fall of Berlin in 1945, the painting would not be seen again for another 52 years. This immense period of time spent not knowing where the painting was and being unable to view the original changed the way in which the painting was written and talked about throughout history. For just over 5 decades, art historians were only able to look at prints and remakes of the painting, never having the ability to see the original painting with their own eyes. Place de la Concorde is among one of the trophy or displaced artworks that was later found at the Hermitage Museum in 1997. A law was passed in 1997 by the State Duma, giving the Russian Federation ownership over Place de la Concorde and a number of other paintings that made their way into Russia following World War II. From March of 2010 through May of 2011, the State Hermitage Museum managed the restoration of the painting following extensive physical and chemical studies of the painting. It was put through a system of X-rays, macro photographs. Images were taken with ultraviolet and infrared rays, and they also took pictures in oblique light in order to show any abrasions or abnormalities. During the study, it was revealed that at some point in the painting's history, part of the painting was cut off, and 4 centimeters of it was folded behind the frame and nailed down. They considered putting a new frame on the painting, but decided against this as the original frame is one of historical importance and has a number of inscriptions and labels on it, though they did have to make slight alterations to the frame in order to accommodate the extra 4 centimeters that were previously folded down. The Hermitage has taken very good care of the painting while they have possessed it, and display the painting on a regular basis for the public to see. Throughout this painting's history, it has not been a highly sought-after work. There is no one bidding or lobbying that it should be in their or anyone else's possession, and no one in an uproar about it being in the Hermitage. But there are certainly still arguments for the Place de la Concorde and many other displaced paintings to be removed from the Hermitage or other locations and sent back to their rightful owners. There are three arguments that can be made as to where the Place de la Concorde should be. The first is that it should be returned to a relative or family member of Degas. This is a sound argument in that this painting has received very little attention throughout the years, and since no one is fighting to have it, such as the Otto Gerstenberg family, Gerstenberg being the last man to legally purchase the painting, it would be reasonable that the painting be returned to Degas' family. The second argument is that it should be returned to the Gerstenberg family. This argument makes the most sense when you look at the issue through only legal eyes without taking ethics or anything else into the equation. People believe since the Gerstenbergs were the last to legally purchase and own the painting, then they should be given the painting. And the final argument, and the one I side with, is that Place de la Concorde should stay in the Hermitage. The Russians helped remove the Nazis from power in Germany and therefore deserve consolation for their efforts. To the victor be the spoils. You cannot simply go to the Russians and say, "I'm sorry, I know that you helped win this war, but the family of the man who bought this painting nearly 100 years ago wants it back." The only situation I can foresee the Hermitage giving the painting back to someone is if the Degas family were to ask for the painting to be returned to them. This discussion and the many others like it are certainly not one with a simple solution and will likely not be solved in the near future. One thing we can all agree on, however, is that we are grateful for paintings like Place de la Concorde and many others having been kept from German hands and likely destruction.